Hello there. Today we get to install the RedTamarin SDK for Windows. I'm under Windows 7 Ultimate 64-bit. I've already installed Java, Cygwin, Notepad 2, Flash Builder, Flash Develop, and other stuff like a basic Windows development machine. And from that point, we go to download.redtamarin.com. Here it's simple. You have all the SDK listed by version number. The last one will be in a blue box, and if there is older version, previous releases, it will be listed underneath. But so far it's the first release, so we only get those. So you download the SDK, which I've already done, and with the zip file you simply unzip it, gonna take a little time, it's Windows. The SDK itself is about 30 megabytes. And here I already created an SDK folder, and basically my goal is to have the SDK in the C drive, SDK, and then the RedTamarin folder. So it's not the right name, I'm just gonna rename it. And that's about it. Inside the SDK, you have different folder. You have the HTML documentation. You have a bin folder with pre-compiler tool, in this case RedBean. You have ABC files, ActionScript bytecode files. You have SWC files that you can use in your project for syntax completion. You have tools, and here we have only RedBean, but again you have the doc here if you need to, and you have a pre-compiled ABC file. By default, the RedBean you get here is a 32-bit executable. You may want to have a 64-bit. It's not necessary, but if you need to do so, from RedBean itself, you can recompile this ABC file into a 64-bit file. This is for another tutorial. You have also the compilers. You have ActionScript compiler 1 and ActionScript compiler 2 that we don't use yet. And that's about it. So to install RedTamarin, we need to do a little setup on the system, but because we are impatient and we cannot wait, we're gonna test it already. So let's run a command prompt. And let's go to the bin folder where I got my RedBean executable. And I'm just gonna type that redbean.exe and run it. It tells me there is an error, RedTamarin SDK not found. That's normal. We did not define this RedTamarin SDK path anywhere. So here how it works. First, when RedBean starts, it will look for the environment variable RedTamarin_SDK in all cap. Then, if it doesn't find it, or even if it finds it, it will look for a redbean.cfg file, a configuration file, into the user home directory. The user home directory under this Windows 7 is here. My username is test because it's a test machine. So you will look for here. You see you have the macromedia.cfg from the old time when Macromedia was publishing the Flash player. And we have the same logic. If you need a global configuration, you can put it there and name it redbean.cfg. And so first it looked for the environment variable, then it looked for redbean.cfg into the home directory, and finally it will look for a redbean.cfg into the current working directory. That means if I run redbean from here, it will look for redbean.cfg here. So far redbean told us it did not find the SDK, so there is a problem. As the environment variable could not be found, it just gonna refuse to run. So we could go and set up the environment variable on the system, but if you're really in a hurry and want to make it work right away, you can just create this redbean.config file right now. So ever you have Cygwin utilities on your command prompt, and you can use a command like touch and create redbean.cfg, or you can do it with only those command, type null, redirect to redbean.cfg, and it's gonna create the file. Now I need to open this file, and I'm gonna use Notepad, redbean.cfg, to open it. And there I'm gonna put my SDK path. So it's here. I want this. Don't forget to escape the slash file. Not the file, the character. And voila. You save the file. And let's try again. Let's run redbean.exe again and see what it says. Hey, something changed. Now we have a redbean banner, simply the name of the executable and the version number. We still have an error, but the error is quite logic. It tells us it didn't find the default build file, and so it's not a valid file. So that means redbean is working. So we're gonna pass some argument. Let's try to see if we can show the help. A little details. For now, all RedTamarin executable need this double dash, so you can pass your user argument to your program. Otherwise, it's gonna think you want to access the argument of a red shell itself. I mean, this is gonna change. I'll try to make it better, but so far, remember the double dash. So let's run the help. Hey, it does work. Again, the banner, the usage with all the options, and a little bit of help, a little bit of example. Okay, so apparently I can display information, so let's try the option I. Okay, I see information. I see the RedTamarin signature. I can see the IVM2 version number. Mixed is the run type between, well, I'll go into those details later. It's a debug version, that's the API version number it's expecting. It's on Microsoft Windows, 32-bit, Little Indian. We have 4 CPU, 4 gig of RAM. Oh, really? Let's check that. Oh. And yeah, I have 4 CPU and I have 4 gig of RAM. So it does work. It will give you the name of your user, the name of a computer you are, IPv6 address, IPv4 address, and the path for the home folder that I showed earlier. So with just the config file, we can see it's working. So this config file is basically an action script file, but that's gonna be evaluated dynamically at runtime. And most of the time you don't need it. Or let's say, even if each time a red bean starts, it's gonna look into those 3 different places all the time as fail-safe to start. The correct or ideal way to do it is to define the RedTamarin SDK into an environment variable. Then only use the home folder or the local level, the local directory folder to override some of those settings. But honestly, once you get how it works, you can do any way you want. So let's define that environment variable. Let's just check that it's not working. Okay, SDK not found. So we need to define a system-wide environment variable. So let's click on Start, then right-click on Computer, select Properties. Then you click Advanced System Settings, and there you're into System Properties, and you want to click Environment Variables. You have two kinds, user variables or system variables. So it's better to have a system variable, that way just available to everyone, everywhere. So we create a new one. This needs to be named RedTamarin _SDK, all cap. And the variable value, it's the path where you installed the SDK. So in my case, it's C drive SDK RedTamarin. I create a variable, I double check it's there. Okay, and I validate everything by closing the window. Okay, so let's start this command prompt again, and let's see if it's working with just the environment variable. Yeah, it works. I mean, we got an error, we don't find a build file, but again, if I check for the help, if I check for information, good. And in fact, I could check even for the environment variable themselves. And in those environment variable, I could find again my RedTamarin _SDK right here. Okay, All cool. From that point, we can consider the RedTamarin SDK installed. But there is one more thing. You see, by default, when you install the Windows SDK, and don't take into account those folders, they are empty. It's a little glitch from my automated process. You only have the Windows runtime. I provide IVM shell, which is the original Tamarin, but we use mainly Red shell in Windows 32-bit or 64-bit. If you need additional runtime, again, you go on the download website, download.redtamarin.com, and there oh yeah, right, oh, my zip file is not commonly downloaded and could be dangerous. Well, I can guarantee you it's not, well, unless you write a virus with it, but anyway. So you have a SDK here. So each SDK will have its own runtime, Windows runtime for Windows SDK, Macintosh runtime for Macintosh SDK, etc. And if you need additional runtime, you can download them for each operating system. So let's say we want also to build Macintosh projectors from a Windows environment. We will download the Red Shell Macintosh. It's not that big, okay. So I'm gonna put it in my SDK path. So Red Shell Macintosh, let's go there. Again, you unzip it. Red Shell Macintosh, and you see you will have a Macintosh folder with 32-bit and 64-bit executable for Macintosh. So you simply take this folder, Macintosh, and you move it to the Red Shell folder. Now, with the Red Bin tool, not only you'll be able to build Windows projector, but you can also build Macintosh projector. Again, in both 32-bit and 64-bit, and you could do the same by adding the Linux runtime. And that's about it. RedTamarin SDK is installed. You can run Red Bin from the command line, and next step will be how to use that in a code editor. That's all, folks. Enjoy.